Hey everybody, today we are checking out the JP031, John Packer's student model trombone with Rich Galime.
Hey everybody!
We're going to talk about a new program that he is starting called Overture, which is kind of an alternative to a rental program. We're going to talk about how this trombone can actually be $350 and still play great. And before we get into any of this, this is a really great instrument that I'm willing to put my backing behind, and it doesn't cost very much for a beginner, for a parent of a beginner, for a teacher of a beginner. If any of you know a teacher, a music educator, please just share this video with them, because we want everybody just to know that this program exists. You know, this might not be right for everybody. Some people have other ways to get instruments, or they can afford a rental program, or they have a local music shop that they really like. This is just a really great program that I think Rich has come up with. And so I'm not sponsored by JP. You know, he stocks John Packer instruments at his music shop, and that's about our only connection, other than we just think it's a great product sold at the cost that it actually costs to make it, and not inflated like a lot of other beginner instruments. So Rich, for the people who haven't seen you on here before, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I've been working on the music retail and music product side of the industry for like 10 years. Have a lot of history with a lot of different companies, and I'm a player myself. I feel pretty passionate about helping people get started on music. If you've seen some of our other videos with the mouthpiece consultations.
Are you still doing the consultations, by the way?
I get at least 2 to 3 weeks, actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
so if you want to check out mouthpieces, especially Dennis Wick stuff, go on over and shoot him a message, shoot him an email. I'll put his contact info below.
I take pride in being able to help somebody find the right product, find the right fit. And this new program, Overture, is something that I feel pretty passionately about. It was started as an effort to make music and instruments more accessible. We noticed that in a lot of areas that used to have local music stores, they don't anymore. A lot of areas that used to have, easy access to rental instruments don't have that option anymore. Or they just simply can't afford $40 to $50 a month. And everyone should be able to participate in band if they want to.
All right, let's see what it sounds like, of course. So the middle range of that, it's all you're really going to need for a beginner trombone. It can do really high, it can do really low, just like most small bore tenors. Of course, I'm using my mouthpiece that I'm used to, so it feels normal, it feels natural. The slide's a little heavier than what I'm used to. I have a lightweight slide. Other than that, honestly, it feels great. I've only played a couple beginner horns for different companies that have wanted me to check them out. Because they're really not meant to be sold. They're meant to be rented. Beginner horns for any other company that I know of anyway, the prices are inflated to, about $1,500, $1,600 for an instrument that really is only worth $350. So when you go to the store to rent them, it looks like you're getting a really good value by spending $40, $50, $60, sometimes $80 or $90 a month on a rental. It seems like you're getting that value. So this horn, just as good as the other ones, it's just priced correctly, I would say.
That is just a basic student model horn, basically similar in bore size to everything else. It's just a small bore, straight tenor.
At least when I was growing up, especially in high school, looking for an instrument, if I wanted to spend under $400 on an instrument, I was going to get a piece of garbage from a garage sale or from eBay, right?
Yeah.
That's all that was available to me.
Yeah, those were your two options.
So when I hear that there's a trombone for like $350, initially, I'm like, well, that's not going to be good quality. You're going to get better value if you just spend a little bit more money, right? Mm-hmm. That's my inclination. So what makes this different?
Well, with Overture, you can buy that instrument, but within the first year, we have some parameters where we'll actually buy that instrument back from you if you no longer need it. So right off the bat, one of the big things with renting is, well, what if the student doesn't continue on playing or they move to an activity? And so for parents and teachers and students, we want to make sure you have that flexibility that you get with a rental, but you can still own the instrument. So you're going to own that instrument at the same price as you would buy it normal. Like our website, what we sell it for is exactly the same as what we're selling them on Overture. We're not like trying to make extra money off of it. But we're trying to offer this service because in my time in the music business, I have felt like that rental prices have become a bit prohibitive. So we've got this JP horn, plays every bit as good as anything you're going to rent. It's just as durable, but it's, again, only around $350 versus renting something for like $40 to $50 a month. You can see how quickly that would add up to savings after the first year.
Why don't you just go over that one more time? So specifically, if I buy this instrument for my child through the Overture program,
yep.
So it's about $350. Mm-hmm. I pay that, and then let's say, a few months later, my kid quits.
Yeah.
What do I do?
So we've set up all of this, and obviously it's on the website, so you know ahead of time. But the gist of it is, if the instrument costs $350, in the first 4 months of that, if they should decide to, move on to a different activity, we'll buy it back at 70% of what your purchase price was. So I think on $350, that's somewhere in the $250 range or something like that. And then anytime after that 4 months, we'll buy it back at 50%. And then after that first year, you own the instrument and we're not going to buy it back after that. But at that point, a $40 a month rental would have cost you more. So the whole reason why we designed it that way is so that at no point would the person ever feel like, oh, if I had just rented, I would have saved $60 or $100. We sort of designed it so that everyone is always in the best situation possible. One of the first questions we always get asked when I'm talking to a band director or a parent about this is, why isn't anybody else doing that? Mm-hmm. The first reason is because, quite honestly, they want to keep renting. So those John Packer instruments, they're not in rental programs, and John Packer's not interested in renting them. They're not like trying to work with those rental dealers specifically. So the reason why that instrument is priced at $350 as opposed to $1,500 is because they're not trying to drive those rentals.
So with that in mind, again, let's just play a little bit more. That's not something you need to do out of beginner horn. I'm not struggling to find the partials, and things sit really well. I think this is a really well-made horn. I have to say I'm impressed. And so, not being an endorsed artist, not being sponsored, not being paid to say it, I want to tell you that it's important for, again, music educators, parents, and students to know that when you are searching to buy an instrument or rent an instrument, that this exists. So if you go to your local music store and they're telling you all of your options, I think it's really important for you to know that this is also an option. You're probably not going to see it at your local music store because it's in their best interest to sell only the horns that are inflated in price so they can rent them out to you, right? This is not one of those horns, so you're probably not going to see it at your local music store. But if you go to overturefirst.com, that's where you'll be able to pick one of these up. And there's all these kind of no-name brands out there. And I think it's important for, somebody like me that maybe you trust to tell you that this is a quality instrument. And if you pick one up, you're not going to be disappointed like you might if you just buy a no-name brand on eBay or on Craigslist or something. A student model instrument is to play, your first 10 notes?
Yeah, it's supposed to, a student model, nowadays it's probably going to be a couple years. You're probably going to have it a couple years. And then a lot of people will cycle through their student models and then they'll use them for their outside marching horn, or they'll keep it, at home or at school, one or the other, so that they always know they have an instrument available. So student models are good for that. And again, that's another great option for this horn is, because you're not renting it for 3 years, after that first year, you can either start saving up for an upgraded horn or just buy one, because now you're definitely committed to playing music long term. And then you've got an extra horn on hand because you weren't renting it. You actually own it. And unlike an Amazon or eBay brand, JP's nationally recognized, so repair techs can work on these instruments. We can get parts for these instruments. But we do understand that local stores definitely support those local programs, and we don't want to interrupt that either. If you're a band director out there and you're relying on that local music store, by all means,
right.
You need to support them, just like my local customers come and support us.
So if you are interested, or you know somebody, or again, you even just know a music educator who might not know about this program yet, it's really important that you share and go to overturefirst.com and check out the program. This isn't just for trombones. This is for all beginner instruments, right?
Yeah.
So check it out. And when you go to your local music shop and they're talking to you about rental, do the math yourself and decide if this might be right for you. And if you have any other questions...
Yeah, I'm pretty much available almost any time. My contact details are on our overturefirst.com site. They're on the dfmusicinc.com site. And I'm sure you're going to put my little details in the corner. So anytime anyone wants to call me up, questions about Overture or any of the stuff that we have, feel free to get in touch with me.
Yeah, Rich is our resident expert on all things, instrument and gear. So, mutes, mouthpieces, horns, instruments, and, now this rental program, or rental alternative, I should say. So thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. And let's play this horn a little bit more. I'm just going to play a few notes of what a beginner would play, just their first few notes to show you, what you're actually going to need this instrument for. And then I'll play a little bit more just for fun. Thanks so much to the Patreon donors for making this kind of thing possible. It's, I think, super important to get the word out about these kinds of programs that can really help, especially low-income students, to make sure they're not left out of the instrumental music process. So thanks to the Patreon donors. Thanks to all of you for sticking with it, and I'll see y'all next week.